Hello, and thank you for joining us for this exciting Okio Labs webinar. My name is Michael from Okio Labs. Our guest speaker today is a librarian from an elementary school in California. So naturally, she has a really big passion for reading and an even bigger passion for fostering her love of reading in the children. In the library, she loves to conduct regular story time with the children, but when the global pandemic hit, obviously story time wasn't able to go ahead as planned. Not one to be deterred, however, she found a solution. She was able to use OkioCam to conduct virtual story time with the children instead. Here to talk about how she accomplished this and how she reinvented story time for the digital age is Denise Fournier. Hello,
Hello.
Denise.
Hello. How are
Nice to
you?
see you. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hello, New Jersey. I love New Jersey. Uh, I'm in New Jersey. So like Michael said, I'm going to talk to you about how I used the OkioCam and how the OkioCam was kind of a game changer for me. So I am an elementary school librarian, and I thought I would show you what it looked like before everything happened, what my library looked like, and describe to you a little bit of how I did story time before. And then I'll talk about how I'm doing story time now, and I'll give you a little demonstration about it. So, like Michael said, I'm an avid reader. I started reading mainly because my brother, who was 17 months older, would read me a book, and then he'd stop reading about halfway through the book, and I'd say, "Come on, let's hear the rest of the story." And he'd say, "Go read it yourself." And so that's how I started to go read it myself. So here we go. This is what the library, our library was recently remodeled, and it's in the shape, it's a boat theme. So you'll see that here. So this is my boat. This is where I check out things to the books to the kids. This is where I have my little domain, and I have my computer, and I have my scanner and stuff like that. So the boat is kind of the central part of the library. And then off to, this is only part of the library, by the way, and this is a fiction area. So this is a fiction area. All the fiction books are in here. And then over to the left of the boat where there's that water, that's considered part of the rocky shore. And that's where the kids would come in and they would sit for story time. So the kids would come in with their teachers and they would all have a seat. And I have a special seat that I would bring out from the boat, and I would sit there and read to them. And this was awesome. There were some challenges with that. Part of it was that the kids, even the most calm children, the teachers would tell me, would just take off because they wanted to get to the library first, because they wanted to have one of those prime seats near me so that they could see the book. So that's going to be important in the story later. So they always wanted to come and they wanted to see the book. And then the other problem was that when there was a large group, there would always be kids at the fringe and they would be talking. And there was, in fact, a couple of years ago, there were these boys who would sit in the back. And because I'm from California, I would say, "Dude's in the back." And so then they would stop and they would look at me and I'd say, "No talking, dude's in the back." And so then they would be quiet. And in fact, I'm also a track coach, and they were on my track team, and they still do that even when they're in 8th grade. So this is how it was. And then this is another spot. Oh, this is me reading to them. I'm sitting on my stool and I'm reading to them, and the kids can see the book and the kids can see me reading the book to them. And then this is another spot, and this is where our TK to 1st grade would sit. And this is a great spot because it's got kind of stadium seating. And so the kids sit there, and then I read the book basically from where the picture's being taken. This is part of the deep sea part of the library. And so that's why it's like they're in the deep ocean and there's an octopus above them. And this was really great. And they really enjoyed this cozy little nook. I could only do it with the younger kids again, because the older kids, they would sit on the top step, and then they would sit behind each other and they would just talk. And they would talk and talk and talk. And they assumed that because I couldn't see them, I couldn't hear them. But it was always distracting. But this is a really nice spot, a really cozy spot for reading, and really helped to foster the love of reading for the kids. And this is how it looks like now. So here I am, and I've got my computer, I've got my OkioCam. So I have my OkioCam set up like this, and I'll show you in a second why I have it set up like this. But I have it set up so that the kids can see the entire book at once, because sometimes if I had it down low in the beginning and I couldn't see the entire book. And so I would get a lot of feedback from the kids that they really wanted to see the entire book. So I have my OkioCam set up like that. And One of the things I really like about the OkioCam is the flexibility, because it's not this big clunky machine, and so I can easily adapt it to be whatever way I want. And I can flip the camera if the book changes the orientation in it. I'm easily able to do that and make it so that the kids can see the book that I'm reading. And they really like that. In fact, I was talking to them about doing this today, and they all said they really like that. So I'll put on my captain's hat like it was in the ad, because I always wear this because I'm still the captain of the ship, even if I'm not in my boat. So like I said, some of the challenges in the real life library where the kids would be talking. Well, the cool thing about story time that I like now is that all the kids kind of have an equal spot at the table. So every kid has their own little square, and every kid can see the entire book. So the kids aren't going to say, okay, I'm just going to talk to my friend because I can't actually see the book. Every kid can see the book. And that's what makes the OkioCam really awesome, because every kid can see it. And I really like that, because when they can see the book, they're more engaged in the book. And I think that's so important. And it's really important that we keep the kids engaged in reading, because reading is a way to grow their minds. And after I read them, books always say, your brain is bigger. Can you feel it? And they all kind of nod their little heads, because they're growing. And I think the cool thing too is that, we live in this digital age. We live in an age where not everybody wants to have a physical book. I have an account for my kids on the library to be able to read books that are just on their computer or on their iPad. And they're reading thousands of books that way, right? And so by seeing it on a camera like this too, validates that activity. It makes them say, this is a way to read. So they see me reading to them like that, and they say, oh, this is a way to read. So then when they get books that are on video, they can have somebody read to them again. And they realize this is important, that you don't have to always physically have the book. You can see the book that way. And it's a very valid way of reading. So before I got the OkioCam, I was struggling because I was using the camera on my laptop like I am now. And I would try to read them the book and say, okay, I will take a nap. Can you guys see it? Mo Willems. Okay. And then I would try to kind of contort myself so that way I could read the book and they could see the pictures. And it was really difficult. And I think it was frustrating for the kids as well as for me, because it didn't really feel like we were having that same library experience. And so that's where the OkioCam really helps. It helps them to have that experience of being with me and being able to see the book. So I will show you a little demonstration of what it's like. So usually I say, okay, we're going to switch cameras now. Is everybody ready? Okay, here we go. Cameras. Oops, not. See, and I often do that. I often just turn off the video by accident. Okay, camera switching music. Dun, 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 dun. And here we are. Oh, I Want My Hat Back by John Klassen. So he's one of my favorite authors if you haven't read him. And I like hats, as you can tell, because of my hat that I'm wearing. So I'm not going to read you the whole book. I'm going to read you some of this. Now, this is a music stand. And because it's a music stand, it has these little arms here that help keep the books in the spot, which is really helpful, because then I can be free. Because I've really come to realize that I was always very animated when I read to the kids, but the really important thing now, because they can't see me, is that they understand really what I'm saying from the inflection of my voice. And so that has become a really important thing in reading to them during this time. Because if I just say, have you seen my hat? No, I haven't seen any hats around here. Okay, thank you anyway. That's not super interesting for the kids. So this is how I usually read this book. Have you seen my hat? No, I've not seen any hats around here. Oh, I should tell you, by the way, that this is a bear who's lost his hat, which, for me is heartbreaking. So he's looking for his hat. No, I have not seen any hats around here. Okay, thank you anyway. Have you seen my hat? No. Why are you asking me? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any hats anywhere. I will not steal a hat. Don't ask me any more questions. Okay. Thank you anyway. Have you seen my hat? I haven't seen anything all day. I've been trying to climb this rock. Would you like me to lift you to the top of it? Yes, please. Now, see, another cool thing is that I can point to it, and so then they can see where I'm pointing, and they know what I'm talking about. So if I want to show them something in the book, Have you seen my hat? Oh, have you seen my hat? I saw a hat once. It was blue and round. My hat doesn't look like that. Thank you anyway. All right, then we're just gonna skip forward to this part. Nobody has seen my hat. What if I never see it again? What if nobody ever finds it? My poor hat. I miss it so much. What's the matter? I've lost my hat and nobody has seen it. What does your hat look like? It's red and pointy and I have seen my hat. Now, this is where part where I would say to the kids, so this is red. What do you think the red means here? And then they'll say in the chat, because I mute them like you guys are all muted, and they say, he's red because he's angry. And I say, that's right. Because when you're angry, you're red. So anyway, he did see his hat, and I don't know if you guys saw that he saw his hat, but there you go. That's an example of how I use my Okio. I do have a Baby Yoda in the background. The kids also like to notice the things that I have in the background of my camera. I have lots of little toys that I show them. So like I show them my dinosaur, because again, we need to keep them interested. Hello, how are you? I'm Charlie. That's Charlie. And I also have an affirmation ball here, and I give them an affirmation sometimes so that they can feel affirmed. Let's see what kind we get. All right, here we go. Oh, says nice outfit. So apparently we're all wearing nice outfits today. Yeah. I think the kids really enjoy that too. And that makes story time so much more fun. And to be honest, they really like when my family comes and maybe they're making their lunch and they hear the beeping and stuff like that. They really enjoy that too, I think, because kids are so hungry for connection right now in this digital age. And so it's fun for them to say, okay, well, Mrs. Fournier is kind of like us, and she has people who are looking for goldfish to eat in their house and they don't have any. And I think that these things help them to feel engaged and excited about something. And I think if we can keep them engaged and excited about reading through whatever means possible, and especially with using the Okio Cam to make it so that they can see the books and they can understand and foster that love of reading, I think that's really, really important. So that's how I've used my Okio Cam, and I really love it. Did you want to ask questions now? Okay.
Hey, Denise, thank you so much. That was really lovely to see the library. I'm sure the kids really enjoy that. The boat looks excellent, just looks like a great environment. Thank you so much for the demonstration of the book. It also looks like a great book. I'm sure the kids love that book. So yeah, like you just said, I do have a few questions to ask you if you wouldn't mind answering them. Okay.
No, but I think I should tell you that I don't make them walk the plank if they forget their books.
Okay, well, that's good.
There's no walking the plank, yeah.
We have to protect the children.
Yeah, we're
not make them walk the plank. Okay, yeah. So first question, what are the things that face-to-face storytime participation can offer that virtual participation can't?
Well, I think, again, kind of depending on how you're doing it, like they can't see my facial expressions when I'm reading them the book, when I'm using the Okio Cam. And so definitely they get really excited when they see someone's face, because just hearing this disembodied voice, I think, is kind of hard for kids. Yeah. But so I think, and also that feeling of community, like, we're all reading this book together, and it feels like such a momentous and important occasion because we're doing it all together. I think that is something that you get in face-to-face that you can't get in virtual. Yeah. But I do think that, the virtual does have its merits, that everybody sees the book and everybody's able to participate, and they do raise their hands and they do talk. That's kind of a nice thing that they're all not all just talking at once. Like sometimes they do that in real life.
Yeah, so. I think that's great how they all have the same perspective. Nobody is missing out at the back of the group, can't see the book. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question I have for you, Denise, do the kids have as much fun when it's only virtual? Would you say they enjoy it as much?
I think some of them enjoy it more. I think because I know some of them say, well, one, they like to look at like the things like Baby Yoda. And I think they enjoy seeing the book, and they enjoy that they don't have to fight for the book. And I think they kind of are able, when we read as adults, we sit in different spots, right? And so maybe we're sitting on our couch and we're watching TV or something, or we're sitting on our couch reading a book, or we're writing well, we don't drive and read books, but like
No.
somebody else could be driving and we're reading a book, right? And I think for them to see like you can engage in a book in many different places, I think is really important for them. And so I think that it's still fun for them because they're able to be like in their pajamas and they're hearing a story,
Mm-hmm.
and they're able to engage with the book. And I think I've tried to make it really fun and to let them know that it's still important to be reading these books and that we should still be reading. And I think it is still fun for them. I think they would say that they have fun.
Absolutely. Well, judging from the demonstration you gave us and the fun characters that you showed us, I'm sure they do have plenty of fun. So the next question, Denise, do you have any tips for getting kids interested in reading? So obviously I would imagine kids these days, it's 2020, they're not as interested in reading as perhaps they were in decades prior. So do you have any tips for getting kids more interested in reading nowadays?
Well, I think part of the way to get them more interested is for us to make it more interesting. So my kids, they'll sit there and they'll watch YouTube videos all the time. And I've often thought, like, why are they willing to watch Mr. Beast's episode like 5 times? And why don't they want to read a book, right? And so I think if we say and we give value to the books, I think that really makes a difference, either in person in the library or in person in virtual story time. So if they say this person who I really respect and really likes these books, then that means something to them. And I think it's also important that we're reading the books that they're reading because they really want to talk about these books. There's a new Keeper of the Lost Cities book that came out, and these kids have been talking about it. And I've said, I've been reading it too. And I think that when you're engaging in their world and you're not saying, okay, I don't want to read those books, I think that by reading their books and engaging in what they will be reading, I think that really helps them. So you make that connection with them. And I think, if you make it, if you choose funny books, or even if you choose something, that's like, I read nonfiction and I read fiction. And, there was this book that we read the other day. I can show it to you if I can find it. And it's called After the Kill. And it's about what happens after this creature dies. And this zebra is killed on the Serengeti plain, and then all these other creatures go and eat it. And I said to them, okay, this is a little out of my comfort zone. But then as we read it, I said, look, this is great because all these animals are eating this, and they're all being part of the circle of life. And this is actually pretty cool that so many animals were fed from this one animal that died. And I think for them to see like, oh yeah, okay, nonfiction is really cool. I think if we engage them and if we help them to be engaged, they will want to be engaged.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Okay, so I won't keep you for too much longer, Denise. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Sure.
The next question, what modern books are kids most excited by, would you say?
Well, I think, people always love picture books, and I think a lot of them are really excited, like as a genre, they're really excited by graphic novels because graphic novels are approachable. They're kind of a step up from the comic books that I used to read as a kid. In terms of specific books, people really love Ryan Higgins. I think he's a great author. And I asked the kids today, what do they love? They love like the book with no pictures. This one doesn't have pictures, but is a really funny book. They love The Keeper of Lost Cities. I have some of those over here too. There's a new thing from Scholastic. They're Acorn books, and these are really great first books for kids. They're first chapter books. They're really good for engaging readers. They like Minecraft books. I think that's a real part of having books. If you have books that the kids like, then they'll want to read them. So this is a graphic novel that people really like. And this one too. The Bad Guys. These ones are hilarious. So, but they really, really like those. So they like books that have interesting characters and are engaging. So, they like Harry Potter. They like The Keeper of the Lost Cities. Those are books that they really like. Fablehaven.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds cool. So Denise, we will just take a few questions. I can see a couple of people have posted some things in the chat. Elise writes, do kids bring you books that they want you to read?
Well, they do that. They'll tell me that. They'll say, Mrs. Fournier, I want you to get this book. can you, either they've read it and they say, oh, I really love this book. Can we buy it for the library? And then I'll say, yeah, let's buy it. And that's actually a lot of how I get some of the upper grade books, because they'll say to me, I really like this book. Or they'll say, can you read this book and tell me, what you think of it? And I think it's really important to hear what they want to read, and not just assume as an adult that I know.
Absolutely. That's when you know that they're really interested in reading, and you've
Exactly.
truly built that love of reading. That's super cool.
Yeah.
So we have an anonymous attendee who asks, or who says, hi, Denise.
Hello.
Do you worry about that kids watch screen too long? So the kids sometimes, instead of reading, like you said, your kid watches too many Mr. Beast videos. So the kids in general maybe pay too much attention to screens rather than books nowadays. Do you think that's a concern?
I do think, especially nowadays, I think, before, when libraries were closed and stuff, like we're doing a curbside pickup at my library, but I do think that they are spending a lot of time looking at screens. I think it really depends on what they're watching. Like if they're watching somebody like Mark Rober who does science, or they're watching like a TED Ed or something where they're solving equations and stuff like that, and solving mysteries. I think those are really important. So I don't think that all screen time is bad, but it's like all things in life, we need a balance. So I think it's good to have time for reading a physical book, or even a digital book online. I mean, that's valid screen time if they're reading a book online. So I think both are part of a person. They need that time to kind of escape, like how people watch TV at night, like in the 50s and 60s, maybe now. I read books myself, but anyway, I think that we need to embrace that, but make it so that there's a way for them to still be reading while using that screen time.
100%. I'm a big fan of Mark Rober on YouTube myself. I love his videos. I think he's super awesome. Okay, so that looks to be all the questions that have been asked in chat. Denise, thank you so much once again for joining us and giving us the talk. It was a real pleasure to listen to you. Thank you so much to all the attendees who tuned in today. We really appreciate that as well. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.